Hey everyone, welcome to this incredible live interview with the founder of Creatures, Darby Days. I am so excited to have you here and ask you all of your questions about all the secrets you have. I think publications really matter a lot on Medium, and it's always been a bit of an embarrassment that I haven't been able to answer a lot of the questions that people have: how to build publications, how to get good writers for your publications, how to monetize your publication. So this interview, which will be about an hour long, is going to be all about those three questions, really, with a couple of sort of separate ones. So I'll start. Tell me a little bit about Creatures. How did you start writing Creatures or creating the publication? What inspired you, and how have you found it?
So I started Creatures because I found a really big gap on the platform. So originally when I started writing for Medium, I was working as a veterinary assistant at a shelter in Toronto. And I wanted to share all of my experiences with foster parenting and working as a veterinary assistant. And so when I started writing and I was looking to submit to publication, I found that there wasn't too many that were the perfect home for my work. I did submit to Tenderly a couple of times, but even still, I mean, it's an amazing publication. But even still, I found it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I kind of wanted a home for veterinary medicine, a home for educational material. So once I saw that gap and I did a whole bunch of research to make sure I wasn't crazy and I wasn't missing something, then I decided to create a publication of my own. And Creatures, the name came to mind just because I didn't want to be too narrow. So, there's publications like Katniss, which are amazing, but I wanted to encapsulate all creatures, wild, domesticated. And so that's where I started the process and why.
Yeah, so I guess let's go back a little bit in the story, because I think to create a publication on Medium, you have to be pretty familiar with how it works as a platform. So how did you get started on Medium?
Honestly, I am definitely a person who acts not rashly, but spontaneously. So I will openly and honestly say I probably didn't know enough when I started Creatures. I had only written one or two pieces, which surprisingly got published through PS I Love You, and that was really, really cool to have one of my first pieces there. So I guess because I had the honor of being published on such a large publication, I was able or motivated to look into the platform quicker and deeper than other people when they first start. But yeah, I watched you. You were one of the first people I watched, and on YouTube, and also I started reading your stories. So you taught me a lot. And then on top of that, just writing, I just did it. I just posted something out there, got picked up by a publication, and then I started researching from there. So, but when I actually made the publication itself, I did, besides researching what competitors were out there, I just made it. I just followed Medium's template for building a publication. I ensured that all my pieces to the puzzle were set in place before I went live. And then I just went with the flow. I didn't really prepare too much.
Yeah. So what's it been like to grow the publication?
It's definitely been a wild ride. I wasn't sure where it was going to go. Obviously, my intentions were really, really high, and I had high hopes. The growth of the publication has been slowly getting more exponential. And that's thanks to multiple variables. So when I first started the publication, I pitched a lot of writers to come join me. So I started with friends and family. So I got around 7 to 10 people to write a story for me, just so I had the foundation on the publication. And when I launched, I didn't have no stories available. And then once I had those stories on there, I went to Tenderly, I went to Katniss, I went to 10. I went to anything and anyone that mentioned animals either in their bio or in their stories. And I sent them personalized pitches because I was impressed by their work. I ended up onboarding a writer called Carlin Bicia. I don't know if I said her name right, but I love her.
I know her. Yeah.
She's an amazing illustrator. And anyways, her article was the first to go viral on that was published through Creatures. So one day I had 200 views on the publication, and the next day I had 20,000. And yeah, so that definitely that was the first catapult of growth that I experienced. And then from there, I just pushed her story, and I showed everyone, you know, what Creatures is capable of and what the kind of community it is. And then from there, I just continued to pitch, and now it's transformed less into pitching writers and more managing the 200 writers that I have. So I'm the sole editor.
Wow.
So now it's more focusing on, I have a great foundation, but now I'm more focusing on quality versus quantity. So I'm done mostly, I still want to onboard writers, but I either soon need to onboard a secondary editor, or I need to kind of close new onboarding or onboarding writers for now. And now I'm focusing more on quality. So I love pieces that are educational, that provide a specific perspective that may be controversial. I love animal behavior training articles, and I do love anecdotal pieces. I just think right now I'm accepting less anecdotal pieces and more accepting anecdotal pieces that provide a big lesson to the reader. So yeah, and now we're almost at 2K, which is still tiny at the end of the day, but the growth is speeding up as the following gets larger.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it sounds like your experience was the way that you've been growing it so far has just been targeting quality writers. And I'd love to talk to you about like the pitching. That was actually how I found you. Well, I knew you from before, but yeah, when you reached out to me to ask if I would write for Creatures, I didn't at that point, but I was so impressed with the pitch. And not just the pitch, but the vision, because I think a lot of people create a publication and think they're just going to stumble into success, but you had a plan from the start, and that was so really cool to me to see. So I always recommend Creatures as a good publication to watch, because I think you do such a cool job. So talk to me a little bit about what does it take to be an editor of a publication?
So I definitely think you need to have a pretty strong understanding of your own voice first. So I went to university for professional communication.
Wow.
So I had a pretty good have a pretty good background in, you know, general spelling and grammar stuff. And when I started the publication, I had a pretty clear understanding of the spectrum of articles I wanted to accept. So I think when you become an editor of a publication, you need to know who you are. You need to know what you want. Hi, Astrid.
Speaking of Creatures. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
That's okay. You need to know what you want from your writers. And the biggest thing is you need to make it clear to your writers, so that way the work comes off of you, and then they can just give you final drafts that are exactly what you want. So when I made the Join Us page, which has all the submission guidelines, I tried to be as clear as possible so there would be no confusion. And I think that was really helpful, because as an editor now, it's very minuscule things that I'm handling for the most part. And then I just publish with the appropriate tags for my publication. So I think although I have control issues for sure, I really try and put all of the control into my writers and give them all the information they need. So in turn, I have an easy time and I can still focus on other projects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the advantages really to having a publication is the ability to send out newsletters. And I am an irregular newsletter sender for my own publication, Zuli Writes. But where your newsletter is, I've been really impressed with how consistent it is. So yeah, do you enjoy writing the newsletter for your publication? Do you find it gives you any real advantages for views or getting new readers?
I think that in the beginning, it was a really great way to empower writers and keep them motivated to consistently submit to me. So for a while, I was doing the This Week's Furry feature newsletter, which was sent out. And that I got a lot of really good feedback for that. For me, that was less about gaining followers and more just creating a strong relationship with my writers. Currently, I've been doing a lot of founder features, so pieces that I've been writing, and as I've been building up the Build Your Voice program, I've been posting a lot of my own stuff there. So I would say that I haven't found it the best. Like, I don't have an email list. I just use the Medium internal newsletter for creators. So in terms of building a following and community, I don't think that that's been its purpose. I think it's just helped me connect deeper with my writers, and also with the community I have on Creatures, pushing my own personal independent stuff has been helpful. But I think I definitely in the future look forward to using the newsletter either in Creatures or an external newsletter in a stronger sense or a better way.
Ola has anticipated my next question. I'll pop it up here. So for people who are watching this and are inspired to create their own publication, what would your step-by-step guide be, from like coming up with an idea all the way to making sure that it's a success?
Yeah, so the first step would just be find your gap and research. I know, and I've watched a couple interviews where they talk about how people have started publications because they don't get accepted, and so they rashly make a publication in rebuttal because they think they can make it their own. But I would just say, have a true gap that, like, if you have a feeling or a gut feeling like, oh, I don't feel like my work fits in anywhere, that could be an indicator that you're ready to make a publication, and that it would be helpful for the community as well. Use your friends and family, as I mentioned before. So make sure that when you launch, you have your logo, you have your header, you have your slogan, and you have a foundation of posts before you go live. So have all the drafts ready and make it all available at the same time. I think where a lot of publications go wrong, and there's nothing wrong with slowly growing over time. I just released a new logo, so things can change, but it's important to have all the aspects of your brand and your voice available straight away, so viewers don't get confused. They're like, oh, okay, this is what this is. And then from there, pitch. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. I have probably sent over 3,000 pitches in my career of working on Creatures and independently as a writer. I am not afraid to hear no. Sure, it hurts the heart here and there, but the amount of relationships I've built from reaching out to people, specifically people that have a big following that I'm impressed by, I think that's been the biggest step for me in the success of my publication, is reaching out to people that I love. And then you just got to be ready to work consistently, making sure that articles are posted every single day, making sure that every article that's posted is of quality and uses your tags, and making sure that no matter what you're posting, it's within the realm of your brand.
Right, okay.
So, I mean, gosh, I could write a whole novel on step-by-step if you wanted to go really, really deep, but have your stuff together, be consistent, and make sure you research your gap to ensure you're not going into an over-concentrated market.
Yeah, so I'd love to dig a little deeper on the researching your gap bit, because how did you do that? How did you look for publications that might be your gap, or, and decide that you were actually the only person who had the ability to create a publication in that sort of area, the zone?
Yeah. So the
gap zone
thing that I did is I researched through Medium's topics.
Okay, yeah.
So, medium.com/topics, and then under pets, I clicked on pets, and I would scroll through for hours and look at the publication names that would pop up. And then I would click onto those publications and I would analyze them, in and out, and see what their pros are, what their cons are, what are they doing right, what are they missing. And I would repeat this process every day for weeks.
Wow.
And for me, that was really helpful to kind of build a sort of graph of what's available, what isn't, and how I should brand myself to perfectly fit in that gap that's there. Tenderly was definitely my most intimidating competitor, but I realized over time that what Tenderly and I do are very different. So it ended up being totally okay, and I haven't had too much of an issue losing writers to Tenderly. and I'm happy for them if they get posted on Tenderly for sure. So I feel like it's kind of been sort of a complementary relationship with that publication, and I was always happy to be there, like the second choice to Tenderly.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good place to be. I mean, for people who,
yeah, it's like if you don't get accepted in Tenderly, then you know where to go. Like you know where your house is for your animal focused content. So, but honestly, most of my research, to answer your question, was internal, and then also I did some Googling, just some general Googling to see what external publications were available on other blogging sites.
Yeah,
just some inspo and see how people did things and how they ran things, and that was helpful as well.
Okay, yeah. I actually, for anybody who isn't aware, Tenderly is, I mean, I don't even know what their elevator pitch is. It's like a place for stories that are, it's not exactly about animals. It's like there's a vegan element to it.
Mostly about animal rights and veganism.
Yeah.
So they did like cooking articles all the way to, animal brutality pieces. So yeah, it's a really, really great publication.
They were backed by Medium at one point. I believe they may have lost that backing. They didn't really make it explicitly clear. And as of recently, I think they are now defunct. I saw a tweet saying that they'd stopped publishing.
They are indeed no longer accepting new writers, and they have stopped. So it's kind of like just a publication for viewing now versus participation.
Yeah, which is exciting for you because you've established your niche so well that now there is no other really near competitor, even if Tenderly was a sort of cousin to what you were doing. This is actually another great question from Ola, although I think you already answered that about using any specific communities other than Medium to find writers. It sounds like you mostly looked on Medium for already telling those kinds of stories.
Yeah, I also looked on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I constantly look on LinkedIn for writers and also through my network. So I've onboarded quite a few of my friends and previous colleagues who are veterinary technicians, and I've tried to push my group of vets to write as well, but they're not too down for it right now.
Sure. Maybe it'll come in time.
Got enough on their plate. Anywhere I could find them, and especially more recently as my following's gotten bigger, I think that LinkedIn and social media has played a larger part when it comes to connecting with people who would be good writers. So I hope to continue growing that and bringing people onto Medium who haven't necessarily tried it, because I think it's a great platform for people who haven't necessarily written, but they have a lot to say when it comes to animal care.
Yeah, I think because if you're looking for writers on Medium, you only have one piece of education to do, which is you already write on Medium. Here's why you should write for creatures. Whereas if you're reaching out to other people not on Medium, you have to be like, first, this is what Medium is. This is what a publication is. This is why the publication you should write for is creatures. So it makes sense that as you're getting bigger, you are starting to widen out, because I assume you've just got more bandwidth to talk to people who might not yet know what Medium is or why they should write for you. But I want to sort of segue onto another topic, which I know is of deep, deep interest to a lot of people watching this. Slightly hairy, money with publications. To set the scene, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around how publications earn money. The only way I know of for publications to earn money, you can have a partnership with Medium. It seems like Medium is moving away from this model. So I know obviously we all saw that the Medium bought out a lot of its editorial staff. Those were the big publications. But even smaller publications that Medium had a sort of semi-professional relationship with, I've been seeing them less and less, and I think Medium is deprioritizing them. Then there's the second one, which you kind of mentioned. When you have your own publication, you can build the newsletter and then promote your own stories on there to earn money that way. You've built that audience, and you can send them your content. And then the third, and this is what I want to talk to you about mostly, is to use that audience of writers and readers to sell something else, sell something that might be tangentially related, but isn't just a link to a story. So tell me a little bit about how you decided to monetize creatures. Like, at what point you were like, okay, I think that there's a business opportunity for me here.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say that's still being grown and being figured out. especially with the news of the Medium buyout. That's quite unfortunate because definitely one of my big hopes was to pair with Medium in the future. So now that that's out of the mix, I'm not even thinking about it. I would say maybe once I got to 500 or 1,000, I was like, okay, like these people care about what I'm doing. So let's make the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest ways to monetize are definitely through relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So I recently built the Build Your Voice program, which is the separate entity to Creatures. So Build Your Voice is run through Patreon, and there's various tiers for individual creatives who are looking to monetize themselves. I post informational material, interviews with wonderful people like you, and people get access to as many fantastic creative minds as possible. So when I officially launched that, I went straight to my Creatures following and posted newsletters, reached out to people individually. I literally went through my list of followers, all 1,500, 2,000, and I sent them personalized messages explaining why Build Your Voice would be beneficial to them. So far, Build Your Voice is still very, very small, and I'm trying to figure out a more effective way of onboarding new people. But yeah, that's been my biggest way to monetize, is build strong relationships. Like I don't like building shallow relationships. I don't think it's worth anyone's time. So I really like to get to know my writers, and the bonds that I've built with my Build Your Voice clients is unbelievable. I can't even say how thankful I am for my relationship with them. So you know what, for people looking to build a publication, I will say, especially in the beginning, you're not going to make money from it, but that's okay. You need to look at the bigger and long-term picture of you are going to be able to gain access to so many voices, and you're going to be able to help people one day, and focus on building your relationship with them so they can trust you. And once you've gained trust, then you can work on newer ventures where you can monetize yourself. So I definitely started it with the long game in mind. And frankly, I didn't think I was going to be making any money from it. It's only recently, as I've built my following, that I went, oh, okay, I've learned a lot. And considering my background, I can probably help other people start their journey creatively. So let's work on that.
Yeah, so I was curious what Build Your Voice is and how it kind of relates to Creatures.
Yeah, so Build Your Voice it's similar to Cinema's Writing Academy, Medium Writing Academy, but I didn't want to focus too heavily on Medium, only because my background stretches further, and I know so many people in the creative industries that aren't writers. So I wanted to provide helpful information on building your brand, working on how you present yourself online, working on writing, working on building confidence in order to start your own brand. And I wanted to compile all of that and put it into one single group instead of just posting it on a newsletter on my socials. I wanted to have one home for it. So yeah, Build Your Voice is like every way I can help you, that's Build Your Voice.
Okay, right.
Whether it's I can help you edit your article, I can watch your video and give you feedback. But the biggest thing that Build Your Voice is a collaborative community. So people post. We have a private Facebook group for $5 patrons that you gain access to. Once you're on there, you can post anything you want that you're working on. And we'll get very in-depth feedback that's supportive, but also provides constructive criticism. And then also that's the host for the early access interviews that I do. I do a monthly newsletter, which provides more helpful resources and also gives them sort of a schedule of what I'm doing. So all the interviews I'm doing that month, so they can kind of see what they're interested in and make sure they book their time in for that. And then also for the $10 patrons, we do a monthly collaborative session. So we go on Zoom, and we all have our mics on, and we talk about hardships and struggles and goal setting. Goal setting is a really big thing that I do. So it's kind of like the welcome all creative collaborative community. And it's still a work in progress. Like this is such a new venture for me. So I'm still trying to figure out where I see this going long term.
Right.
But as of right now, it's just a group of people that have learned to trust me, and now they're willing to put a little bit of money into it, knowing that hopefully they'll get some value out of it. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, no, I think that's such an exciting opportunity for anybody who's thinking about growing their publication, to think of it as, I mean, yeah, it's awesome that you get to have a home for your stories and meet other writers, but also it's a lot of like unpaid work. And I am a firm believer that good work deserves an income. So I'd love to know, when was the tipping point? When were you building this community? And did you think like, okay, yeah, now people are starting things beyond what I'm already providing, and that's something that that I can charge for because I'm delivering that value to them?
That's a really good question. I would say, well, you've shouted me out a couple of times on your YouTube videos saying that I was doing something right. And so both of those times when you shouted me out, I went, I guess I am doing something right. Maybe I do know what I'm doing. And then when I was helping friends and family outside of Medium with resumes or giving them pep talks in regards to starting new ventures, I also kind of went, maybe I kind of do know what I'm talking about. So there wasn't a specific moment where I was like, Eureka, like I can take this further. I just think that for me, mentorship has always been super important. And so once I reached a large enough crowd, probably like 500 or 1,000 followers, I was like, okay, maybe I can go further with that. Oh, there's my cat.
There's yours. Yeah.
Did I answer that question or?
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I was just interested because for me, like I did all of my content, not for free, like it was behind a paywall on Medium, and I earn ad revenue from YouTube, but I started charging people when they were asking for things that like I couldn't reasonably give for free to everybody, like edits or consultations. And it was at that point where I was like, I want to help these people, but I don't have the bandwidth unless I'm being paid. And it sounds like for you, it was slightly different. It was when you were getting this positive feedback from your friends, from people like me, people saying, you know what you're doing a great job. And then you're like, yeah, actually, that could be valuable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't from clients coming to me. I definitely have come to them. But I would say the first big project that I did, and it was recent, like it was only in April, I ran a paid workshop that was ran over Zoom. And I wasn't expecting anyone to come, to be honest. And that was kind of when I was deciding, can Build Your Voice be a thing or can it not? So I put it out there. I did marketing every single day. I feel like people hated me because every single day I posted a newsletter about 10 days till the Build Your Voice workshop, 9 days. Anyways, 9 people ended up coming, and the fee was $25. And for me, that was a huge moment. And then after that, the workshop went so well. And I did a feedback survey, and the feedback I got was so positive.
Yeah,
like, what
that's amazing.
Heck? Like, I can't believe that people found that helpful. And then from there, I had multiple private sessions come out of it. So people paid me to work with them for an hour and write with them and edit with them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So really valuable.
I was like, okay, so I'm going to do it then. I am going to make this a thing. And so that's when I fully was like, I'm going to make a logo for Build Your Voice. I'm going to make a Facebook group. I'm going to set up Patreon. But definitely, yeah, it sounds like it's the opposite of what you went through, because you had clients come in and you were like, you had to change it from sort of a friend helping a friend to a client with a professional. So I hope to be there one day.
It's a good place to be. I've been very fortunate. But yeah, I think there's so many people write on Medium and think of the only monetization aspect as like the only possibility is to earn Medium Partner Program. And I mean, we've all, well, I don't know, they stopped doing it. But they used to send out an email showing how much people earned. And like only like less than 10% of people earn over $100. And that's just not, I mean, it's great to get that bonus, but most people weren't earning the amounts of money that they would need to actually like make it a feasible career, change their lives, start earning money by doing what they loved. And like for a long time, I focused on trying to help people get into that percentage, but then I realized so much of the power is actually on using Medium as a platform to go monetization. Like freelance clients is a big one for me. Using it as a way to sell your own services, but like the way that you've done with the Build Your Voice. And I think it's just such a good example of like all the different possibilities and opportunities that you have on Medium, not just as a writer, but as a creator. And I think that's so cool. Yeah.
For me personally,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
For me personally, like, I never considered, obviously making money on Medium was exciting for me, but I definitely always considered Medium to be a community building venture. And also I consider Medium my creative portfolio. So whenever I am pitching clients or I'm meeting with people online and I want to show them what I do, I send them my Medium profile because I think it's a great way to showcase who you are, what you do. So when I'm, talking with other creatives, and that's also why I want to Build Your Voice to be more than Medium and more about how to build your community and how to find your voice. I agree. It's not just about Medium. It's not just about writing. And there are so many people out there who have something to say. So let's teach them how to say it, and use Medium as a complementary strategy, but not the strategy in full.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to kind of summarize what I've learned so far from talking to you, and then we can move over to questions from the audience. I've seen quite a few from Ola, which is great. If you're watching this and you have questions, let us know in the comments, and we'll go through them, in a couple seconds. Yeah, so what I took away from that was that to build a good publication, it helps a lot if you go into it having a long-term vision of where you want to be. Like the fact that you are aiming to one day be partnered with Medium, even though, Medium changed direction, that probably helped you build a really good publication, like because you started thinking already high quality things. So reaching out to such a huge number, like that's so impressive that you reached out to so many writers, quality writers with a personalized pitch to say, hey, I think you do an incredible job. I would love to have you for my publication, and getting those quality pieces on your publication really helped it grow early. Reaching out to friends and family, not something I ever would have thought of doing, which was really cool. But yeah, that seems to have worked for you as well to help you get that backlog before you kind of went live and published. And then I thought I don't want to, I'll go to Ola's question in a bit. She kind of anticipated, but it seems like even though it feels like you've put in about an even level of effort all the way through. Results are starting to go exponential, which is really amazing to see. And it sounds like, you have to think of it not in a month by month, but like in a almost year by year framework when you're measuring your success and your growth. So that's the growing publication side. And then monetizing, I feel like that's a whole separate thing. And I almost wish I had interviewed you twice because you've got different things to say in different areas. But I think it was really cool that you used personal feedback from friends and family, from writers on the platform, from people like me to say, actually, I do have a valuable thing that I can put out there, and people will, get a lot of value from doing that with me. And I think it's also cool that it's not just a Medium adjacent thing. It's you've used creatures as inspiration for creators of all kinds, and I think that's fantastic. So those were my takeaways. Was there anything I missed? Any final top tips?
No, I think like a lot of what you say as well consistently is just similar to Medium. Creating your own publication or your own platform it's not a race, it's a marathon. And so everyone's going to feel like what they're doing is not the way to do it, or they're not talented enough to do what they're doing, or they don't know enough. I would just say, remember your worth and continue to do what you're doing. There is going to be slow months. Like there's months where I've been very confused as to what's going on, or the growth hasn't been what I was hoping it to be, or there wasn't a viral article to help build the following. But I, always take a step back and remember why you started and what people can gain from either joining your publication or your creative venture. And results will happen. You just need to keep working hard and put the effort in. And for people who are just looking to make money, or for people who are using it as a rebuttal for not getting accepted somewhere, just reconsider your intentions. Because I haven't spoken to anyone who's started for those reasons and come out successful.
Yeah, no, yeah, I forgot that actually when you were saying earlier. It's so interesting that the reasons for creating the publication have to be reasons that will also contribute to its success, which is filling a niche. And yeah, making sure that you're doing something because people want it and not just because you're sad that you got rejected, which I get it. I've been rejected. It sucks, but it's not a reason to create a publication where you can always accept yourself. But yeah, all right, let's get through some questions. We talked about her first two. So this is an interesting one from Ola, which is what I was referring to earlier. Is there any particular level at which of follower count where you realized, oh, okay, I've reached kind of like a small critical mass and to pick up?
What follower amount started to grow consistently? I would say it started growing quicker and consistently at 1K. And it probably goes up 100 followers per week and a half now. And I hope that it continues getting quicker. I know in a lot of cases, as you build a bigger following, the growth also becomes quicker, just because of how math works. But I would say around 1,000, there was a lot more consistency in the growth. But I still hope to see it get the credit that it deserves, not because of me, but because of the talented writers that are on there. I really hope that it builds a bigger reach, because I know animals is not one of the #1 topics on Medium that performs well and makes all the money. But I hope that Medium founders and Medium users can understand its worth, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a more technical one. Does Creatures have the auto curation? Do you know what auto curation is?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
But the curation rate for Creatures is relatively high. I think we're at around 75%.
Okay, yeah.
I have a writer, Ashley. She writes about her chickens. And I'm pretty sure that every single piece she submitted through me and distributed through me has been curated. I really try to push curation like standards onto people and make them understand how important they are. Because for me, it doesn't affect me if you get curated or not, but I know how it affects my writers. So whenever I have a piece submitted and I don't think something is going to work, I really try and be blunt and honest with them. So they can succeed as much as they can. But no, I hope one day auto curation will be a thing. Hi, Ashley. She's watching, I think. So I hope auto curation will be a thing one day. But still a tiny but mighty publication for right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you plan to co-op with Medium in any way? And let's do this two different ways. A, what do you think is realistic? And B, what is your wildest ambition?
A, probably not. B, absolutely. The goal would be to, I don't know if I'd ever get bought out by Medium or.
Okay, so is that if they would say, hey, we love what you've grown,
let me give you a lump sum of cash and you can, but I would hope to work with Medium to build just a stronger access to content for animal-focused articles. I don't exactly know what that looks like, but I know that animal content is very much overlooked. So I would hope that either there could be more subcategories on topic pages, not just pets, but maybe veterinary medicine and then animal care and wildlife, having, because for lifestyle-based content, there's 7 or 8 different topics. So it would be nice to have more awareness about what animal-focused pieces can bring. But we'll see. I would definitely have to do some research on who to reach out to, because I don't think anything's going to come to me easy at this point from what I've experienced. I think it all comes through hard work.
Okay.
So, maybe that could be an interesting project in the future, is reach out to Medium big guys and see where that could go.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And you're so right. Like, I think a lot of people want there to be like a shortcut or like a secret hack that you're going to reveal. And there just never is, right? The answer is always like, I put in a lot of hard work into this thing I care about. And that's how I got this amazing result. And it's cool to hear that you're like openly admitting, yeah, this took like work and typing work.
I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was great. Okay, and two more from Ola. A Medium email newsletter. So I have my answer for this, but I'd love to hear yours. My Medium's newsletter functionality over any of their competitors/alternatives.
I think for me, I haven't ventured, like, I definitely considered ConvertKit or Substack, but I haven't ventured further than Medium simply because, number one, I have so much on my plate already. And number two, it was the easiest way to access my following quickly.
Yeah.
So, you know, the putting it, sign up for the Creatures Catch Up at the bottom, and that is where my largest following is. It just made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't think I have a large enough following to start something like that, like a Substack. But maybe in the future, once I continue to grow independently and as a publication, I would consider doing additional options like that. Mm-hmm. But also I chose to run through Patreon. So patrons get a newsletter for $5 a month. It's part of the first tier. And it's super easy to send email newsletters through Patreon. So that's kind of, I do sort of use a newsletter outside of Medium. It's just through Patreon versus ConvertKit or Substack. Okay. But I'm super adaptive, like whatever comes my way and whatever through research and experience seems most beneficial, I'll definitely try it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my answer is similar to yours. I recommend, I mean, I have my own ConvertKit, which I use because it has pretty sophisticated options for sending out automated newsletters, for sending out like sequences of emails, for different options based on how, when, where people signed up. So that's why I love ConvertKit. But for simplicity, like if you just want to get your first email out the door to a group of people you know is going to be interested in what you have to say, there's no better place than the Medium email newsletter, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is a technical tax/business related one that I do not know the answer to. Should a publication be an LLC for monetization?
Well, I have no idea. No idea, my friend.
Yeah, I'm also cannot help with that one. My dad has been after me. He was an accountant and he's always after me to incorporate, I guess, but I have not done so because I don't know how, and I'm kind of afraid at this point to try. Yeah, there's Ashley saying hi. Ashley, I have not read any of your chicken stories, but now I really want to.
You're missing out. Go on Creatures after this, and you will be
binge chicken content. Happy. That's what I want. Oh, Jared. Okay, Jared has said that he can answer the LLC question, so I'll wait for him to type it out. Oh yeah, Adam is saying talk to your accountant. Good recommendations from these people. Here's one from MAM Rakib, I think. What's your guide for beginners getting enrolled in Medium? I actually have a lot of videos that suggest that go into this in a lot of greater depth than I'll be able to give in this video, and probably the same for you, Darby.
Yeah. No, Zuli has a lot of great content. I did the workshop with the information that I shared on the Medium 101 workshop is not currently available to the public. So I would push Zuli's content for now on that. But there's a lot of great resources out there. My biggest thing for beginners is to understand that everyone does it differently, and everyone reaches success through different means. I know Zuli and I are very different in how we got started, and Zuli's contacts in him and Amardeep, they started very differently. So everyone's different, and take advice with a grain of salt and just follow your inner gut in what seems right for you.
Yeah, that is great advice, because you're right. There is no one path to success, I think, on Medium. So many people have done it so differently. But yeah, okay. So it looks like we have gone through all of the questions. Matt, Adam telling me that I should incorporate, so I will get on that. But yeah, thank you so much for coming here and talking to me, Darby. I feel like publication growing is definitely one of my blind spots, and I feel like you've done such a good job filling in that hole for people like me and the people who are interested in watching this. Yeah, is there any last piece of advice you would give about creating a publication, monetizing a publication?
Yeah, I would say network. Similar to the advice I'm sure you would give to people as well. Yeah, network, see who's out there, and focus on building deep relationships. We're all normal people, even if the person has. I mean, I reached out to Zuli when I had like 10 followers and she had 10,000. So know that these relationships can be built. Just remember that, don't put people on a pedestal. Obviously, recognize their strengths and their power and their skill, but speak to them just like a regular human being. And that's how you can build sustainable relationships and a following.
Yeah, fantastic advice. And yeah, I will sign off then and say, oh, sorry, actually, one last thing. Where can people find you if they want to get more of your content other than obviously Creatures and your own profile? I'll link to that in the bottom.
Yeah, so if you go to my Medium account, Darby Days, I've pinned my About Me section on there. So I have my LinkedIn on my About Me. And also, I believe I do have my Patreon linked as well. I would love to build the Build Your Voice community. So if any of you are interested in joining a community that's super supportive, but more a wide spectrum of creatives versus just writers, then feel free to join, only $5 a month. Oh, it looks like Jared answered too. Yeah. And Instagram, it's Darby Days _. So I post a lot of cat photos and photos for me working at my clinic. So you can check that out as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'll include all those links in the video description of this video. If you've got any questions for Darby, leave them in the comments and I will pass them on to you. And yeah, thank you again so much for coming here, being here today, answering all of our many questions. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Creatures and Build Your Voice does in the future.
Thank you, Zuli. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for tuning in and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.